Right then, fellas, another sponsor for the pod is probably something you're very familiar with if you're in the e-commerce space. It's certainly something I am. It's Wayflyer. Cash flow is the biggest killer of any fast-growing e-com brand, as I, probably more than most, know very fucking well. Go and watch episode 1 if you haven't already. Wayflyer is an e-commerce funding partner. Essentially, they can front you the cash for a month or so worth of sales. You need a minimum of 6 months sales, a minimum of 20 grand a month, I believe, right now. If you've got a brand that you're super passionate about, you want to scale it quick, but cash is a problem, to invest in inventory, mainly marketing, overheads, team costs, whatever it is, you can get funded in as little as 2 to 3 days. It's literally that quick. No bullshit bank loans, no personal guarantees. I've worked with them personally in the past, took a 6-figure sum off them. Plenty of guys I know in my network and people that have been on the pod and run massively successful brands have also used them as a funding partner, because everyone knows at scale, cash flow is the biggest killer, even if you are profitable. If you think this could be a fit, potentially you could be a fit for them, then go click the link below, speak to the guys at Wayflyer. It's a referral link, so we get a little fee, you save a little bit as well. Support the pod, support your business. Cash is king, especially in this market. Let's fucking go. Right, we're back with episode 80 of the Midnight Pod, and we've got an eclectic mix of some of Britain and Northern Ireland's biggest hitters. It is part of Britain, isn't it, Northern Ireland? Fuck. Gonna get cancelled right at the start of this pod. Got Oliver Hudson carrying the pod as usual. We got Seamus, the finance wizard, who's behind a lot of the biggest brands on Twitter, including mine. And we got Connor Martin, the richest man on Twitter, who's also here to join, which is your third time on the pod now, which is actually the most of any guest. You were going to lead some Q&A-esque type topics, I think, today was the plan.
Points, yeah. I think we kick off with Seamus. Seamus is the only one here that's not been on multiple times. The dog is fuming that you've put him out of the room.
Let me just grab the dog, you go.
Yeah, Seamus, you work with us all independently, obviously. You're CFO for all 3 companies. So I guess it would be good to start with a bit of an intro on yourself and your background.
Sure, yeah.
And how you work with us and the other brands you work with.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to be here, I suppose. But yeah, we work with all of you, as you said. Background's international tax and finance, and we just kind of spotted a gap in the market for e-commerce over the last few years. Just kind of roll with that, and we just kind of work with digital marketing agencies and e-commerce brands around the world, mainly UK, Ireland, and a bit in the Middle East as well. So yeah, is there anything specific you want to go through? Or?
Subtitles.
Yeah, I guess.
Speak slower.
Yeah, subtitles.
I guess, yeah. Like, what's the? So you're kind of fractional CFO. What's your from a brand perspective? Because I think that's more interesting. What's your normal scope of work with the people you work with? How do you work with them? What? I guess that, but then also what pain points do people come to you with? What's the thing you're solving? Why are they?
See if my business.
Yeah, part of it would be that, but.
I think in simple terms, the way we describe it is no matter whether you're a corner shop or Amazon, there's 3 main parts to any business: sales and marketing, which Ollie obviously handles a lot for a lot of brands. Then you've got operations, like the operator, the founder, which would be Connor and Matt, and then you've got finance. So sales and marketing, how you sell your product, how you bring it to the market; operations, product, fulfillment, all that side of it. And then finance really is the glue that kind of marries it all together, making sure you get enough margins, unit economics is right, cash flow, forecasting, taxes, all that kind of stuff. And I think finance, when used right, can actually be used as a lever for growth and for performance. And I think a lot of brand owners forget that or don't realise that. And it's almost the last thing that's thought about. And sometimes it's too late, before they actually think about it or take it seriously. So we kind of come in and we do that. We take it off the founder's hands. We give them clarity, we give them peace of mind, sleep easier at night. We look after it. So cash flow is everything, making sure we have enough cash in the bank, enough runway, raising debt or equity, whatever that may be, forecasting out, managing all the books, all the taxation, entering new markets, what are the legal obligations, what are the tax obligations, supply chain, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell on brand side.
How do you go from, let's go into your background briefly, more corporate, I guess. I want to talk about that, and then why and how did you pivot into kind of the entrepreneurial startup side of things, and particularly e-commerce?
That's a good question. So my background is, I went to college, I studied law and accounting in UL, very boring, but it's a good degree. Then I went into the whole corporate thing for 8 years, trained in a company called Deloitte, which is one of the largest consultancy firms in the world. And I was in the corporate international tax section, so like Amazon was on my portfolio, for example. A few other big massive companies. I work with Disney, a few others, working all around the world. Well, based in Dublin, but like having exposure around the world, working with teams in the US, like West Coast with Amazon, Seattle, working with teams in Asia, etc. So we had that kind of international scope, and that's all I knew and all I learnt. Became a chartered accountant and a chartered tax advisor. Then left Deloitte and went to work brand side for PLCs. The first one was Kerry Group, which is I think one of the largest, if not the largest, food ingredient company in the world. Operations worldwide, doing M&A in the Middle East, different bits and pieces. Then went to work for a company called Arista, again food manufacturing, looking after financing entities around the world, like debt, like in Malaysia, Australia, Malta, everywhere basically. Kind of financial control and group tax, like looking after worldwide taxation as well. Did that, then COVID came. I knew I always wanted to do my own thing. Never actually set out to do e-com. I actually, long story short, we did start a tech startup that in the accounting space. Did that for about 2 years. Got it to market, realised we needed about another probably £1 million to really take it on, so we kind of just folded that. Ex-business partner went to work for Revenue, which is like the Irish version of HMRC. I went down a different route. We'd built kind of an Instagram following, like a pool of Irish businesses to launch that product to. People wanted to work with us, started working with people, moved to Marbella, like sold all we had. I had a car, BMW, literally drove it to the airport. The guy that bought it off me took the keys off me in the airport. Actually Dave. Remember Dave at the wedding, yeah. So he actually bought it off me and just got a one-way flight to Marbella. I didn't even tell the missus that we were moving to Marbella. I was like,
until the morning of, wasn't it?
2 days beforehand, yeah. I was like, look, we're moving to Marbella in 2 days. I just booked a one-way flight and an Airbnb, and from there just started networking with people. And yeah, took it from there really.
Who was the first client in the e-commerce space?
The first big client was probably Carpe Omnia.
You're wearing the t-shirt?
I'm wearing the t-shirt, yeah. So working with John and Michael now is almost 2 years. So that's probably the first big brand that we started working with. And yeah, we've grown rapidly as well there. So that was kind of the first big brand. First really big brand then was probably Connor here, am I right? So yeah, that was it really. Just networking, just found a gap that like a lot of brands were working with, let's say like a local accountant who, whilst they're excellent at what they do, when you talk about international trading and cross-border, they didn't really know the risks, what Shopify was, etc. So we kind of filled that gap and look after all that, and built a lot of close relationships with like the likes of Wayflyer, other funders, other banks, just to keep players in the space really.
I think most importantly, a lot of accountants, good and bad, only focus on looking backwards, whereas that doesn't really fit in with a tight cash flow. Well, not so much tight cash flow, but all of e-commerce is a lot tighter on cash flow, and that's where you come in, where you're forward projecting more than anything else.
Yeah, understanding that magic formula, like you can take a hit like on ROAS as long as your contribution margins at like a healthy level and just push that spend and getting that balance fine. Like traditional finance will always, their gut reaction will be pull back, and try to cut costs and save money. Whereas actually you might be better off like pushing harder and just driving that top line. If your contribution margin is staying solid and just getting enough cash to cover your fixed and just scale it up from there and have a real plan. And because the unique thing with e-com is like we have all this data, it's all there in front of us, like so it's about using that really.
Still, yeah, the businesses that we find thinking about, I've had a lot of conversations with founders and CFOs recently, usually CMOs and CFOs or CEOs and CFOs, and the businesses that a lot of like, it's usually really big brands. I've had a conversation with a few of them, and the ones that you have the most productive relationships with is where you have like really strong alignment between the CFO and the CMO, because the ones that don't have that, you'll find the CFO's like obsessed with like last click attribution or something, and that for an example, and then they'll only spend on channels that show good last click attribution, but then to get to true scale, you need like YouTube, etc., where you just don't get that. So I think that and just understanding the e-commerce marketing ecosystem as a CFO is like a big like difference from what I've encountered for sure.
Yeah, like I'd never look at that. I'd always look at blended. Like, and as long as we're in our blended targets, we're in a good space. That's how
I think it's just that appreciation of each division, and most accountants only look at the books linearly in terms of, you know, money in, money out, and as you said, last click. Do you know? And it's
like proof. It's like cold hard data, isn't it? Whereas
Yeah.
there's no like speculation to it.
We're actually sitting down with TikTok on Thursday to actually go over that.
Yeah, that's a big thing I've been pushing TikTok on. They just don't attribute, and then it makes like they don't manage expectations very well as a business.
yeah. I suppose we've only been able to spend quite a lot because of FOSFA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because everybody goes onto TikTok and think it's going to give you the same numbers out of the back of it as Meta. Like you go on and think, I can spend on it. It's going to give you the same ROAS, same numbers.
Yeah.
But it's so view through attribution that unless you have something that models in that view through attribution like phosphor, then you don't get you don't get a true number for like CAC. But then like TikTok need to be doing that job. Like we find it's on us all the time to provide that education. But like a lot of people just tell us we're chatting shit if we like spend more money here. It's working, but they're not going to do that to like TikTok's team.
Yeah. But trying to explain that to a traditional CFO isn't going to be something that's an easy conversation.
It's like a business case. You have to put like a business case together, which is a task.
Yeah, but I suppose like that is kind of one thing we try to do is like my main concern is like staying in the game. So like, you know, if I'm chatting to either any of you, and you know this, like for chatting or any client we work with, like we're trying to do something, like if it's going to like, you know, the guardrails basically, like is this going to like wipe us out? You know, and that's the biggest thing I always try to stay away from. Like it's about like taking risk, but taking calculated risk and managing that risk, and testing things and pushing it. And then when we get confidence it's going to work, push harder and push harder.
There's no point in projecting a fucking 12 million Q4 if you're not going to get to Q4.
Exactly.
Do you know? And as funny as it is, quite a lot of brands do think that way. Do you know? It's like, how do we get to Q4 to be able to do this? Whereas there's a lot of opportunities.
And I don't know how like brand owners that don't have a finance person by their side like can make those decisions with confidence. Do you know, in terms of scaling and investment?
It was me 3 years ago.
Possible.
That's scaling it.
Literally just praying,
Spend more money.
spray and pray.
But it is like when you're doing your finances, when you're in your own meta account, you're making changes based on today's data, and that's you push too hard, and all of a sudden you fucking run out of stock, or you're not managing your operations just because you've got that dopamine hit of a really really good day, then you fucking triple budgets and you're dead by Friday.
Yeah, we've had a cash accounting, just we've loads of cash in the bank, we're okay, or we don't have much cash in the bank, we'd pull back. But like you might have loads of cash in the bank, but you could have a VAT bill coming up or a stock payment due, or these hidden things can come out at you.
Well, that's what nearly chinned me in 2021 December. We went so hard in the Black Friday, done class, and then January's VAT bill came and I was white as a sheep.
But the thing is, there you were wise as sheep because you've never been through that before. But we've been in situations where someone can't afford their VAT bill, can't afford their medical, can't afford these things, and we always not moves, but there's always things you can do. There always is, and I think having someone that's been through it or can just put a hand on your shoulder and say, "Look, I've seen worse. I've been through worse." You know,
having someone that can having someone that can have an awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Not many people are good at that.
No, not many people are good at it.
Yeah, so hope that kind of clears up what we do in a nutshell.
So fuck all, really.
Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that, I promise you. 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales like I've done a few times based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business. Not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, marketing, all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'll be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go.
You mentioned through there, obviously getting to Q4, so it's literally the start of Q4 today.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
What day? It's like ecom Christmas, come early. It'd be good. I think it'd be good to chat through a bit of a Q1 to Q3 reflection in terms of everything, really. I guess the market. It would be good to do it by business, maybe, and just how lessons taken. I think I'm sure everybody's learnt some bits, and then probably look at Q4 as well. But I think it'd be interesting for people to watch him to maybe reflect there first. How do you think when you've spoken at least, how do you think your Q1 to 3?
Forgotten how to do these podcasts. How do I think Q1 to Q3 went?
Maybe break it into stages. Maybe a couple of summary and then
I'm trying to think back now. I
biggest
mean,
lessons.
The main thing I did in Q1 was we just pivoted from obviously it's brand new brand, so it's quite a good example of it was brand new last year. So first 8 months just fucking not overspent, but like I think our blended rise was like 1.7 or something. And then in December we're like, oh, this is before you came in, but I think Simon at the time was like, you should probably go for slightly better performance. So grew a bit slower, but it was way more efficient. But obviously being a subscription heavy business, started to get the benefit of subscribers and so on. So we started being very contribution profitable. Wasn't quite EBITDA profitable at the time. It's getting there. And then summer was pretty difficult, I think, probably for a lot of brands. And well, at least I don't think it was easy for my brand. I'm trying to think back. I mean, it's a very simple business. We have like one product pretty much, but just been focused on. Did a lot of work making things more efficient. I think Q4 is going to be way bigger, obviously for us as well as a lot of brands. Was getting a bit nervous about CAC recently, but it seems to have come down quite nicely in the past 2 weeks, which is good to see. Finally, correlating with other changes in the business. And to start doing a shitload of work on churn, because I think I was only thinking about acquisition, but kind of didn't really realise that, especially being a subscription business, keeping people on the subscription is as important, if not more important, than acquiring new ones. So,
well, it's more important, isn't it? Because you don't have to worry about your CAC, really. Yeah,
so we're a bit late to the party doing proper work on that, but in like the past month, we started working with a data consultancy who have been expensive but good. Probably like the best money I've spent all year, to be honest, because it's already brought down churn a lot. Oh yeah, well,
point still valid.
Fuck. I don't think it's been an easy year, basically. I think I probably launched a brand in a pretty terrible time, arguably, and that's having done it before and been fortunate enough to have people financially back the business. So I don't know how the fuck people can do it that haven't done it before. I mean, the answer is they probably can't, especially in like 2023. It's just not what it was 5-6 years ago in terms of easily launching a brand from a bedroom. Because I feel like I've got a good product and a good brand, and it's still been difficult. But I guess a lot of people would say it's doing really well for a new brand. I mean, a lot of like venture capital investors I speak to say that, and it's like I think it's doing shit because I've done bigger stuff in the past.
Well, I think simply because of how many copycats you've had already. I think you're doing okay. Do you know?
So, but yeah, obviously the ambition is still to 10x it, which will probably take 3 to 5 years. So, but yeah, all in all, I say it's been a pretty positive year. Learned a lot there. Very stressful, but I think next year the plan is to at least kind of 3x what we've done this year.
What would you say is the importance of a good sort of surrounded structure in terms of the partners you work with? Has made a difference in that, or is it other things?
What is in the people I work with? Yeah, I mean, people always say like, how big's your team? I'm like, I guess it's like 5 people core, but then we do work with a lot of agencies and external resource. I think a lot of people just only talk about, like on Twitter, it's marketing agencies, how much you're spending on ads. No one ever talks about product or supply chain or finance, which are probably, but definitely are more important, because without them you can't polish a turd, you can't market something shit. But there's this weird culture in D2C sphere of just let's just talk about marketing. But it's all the dropshippers that are like doing no ship scams that are talking about it, because the other things don't matter when you're doing that.
It's the 0 to 1, isn't it? Like the marketing just a 0 to 1, but then once you're at like some sort of scale, I'd probably argue that the most impactful thing you can do for any brand is launch a good new product.
Yeah.
Just have more things to sell to people. It's just like common sense, isn't it? Even if that's just another flavour like you've done, it's like opens you to another batch of consumers who wouldn't have bought from you previously, and allows you to go after new angles if you're doing a completely new SKU.
Not even just that, it's also the current, your best customers are going to be the already customers.
Yeah.
So if you can find ways to benefit their life, then you know you've had a proper product. Like how many people are drinking space goods because of the benefits but don't like the flavour? Whereas now a portion of them are now enjoying the flavour and the benefits.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to tell friends and more likely to buy more.
Yeah.
You know, become a little bit more elastic to price and sort of future drops and stuff.
It's funny, everyone always says drinking space goods. I think I need to do some work on clarifying that the product is called Rainbow Dust.
Yeah.
Everyone always says, I'm having my morning space goods.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the fucking product. So, I'm obviously...
Would you rather they drink coffee?
Rather they drink Rainbow Dust. But, yeah.
I think that leads nicely into my point. I think the biggest thing I've seen is, like, let's say 2020, 21, 22, you could get away with having a good product and really good marketing. And coming from a corporate background, just corporate structures are the way they are for a reason, because, you know, everything has to be working, whether it's, you know, finance, marketing, supply chain, operations, MPD. And the brands now that are doing really well are the ones that are acknowledging that and putting the structures and systems in place across all the business units that need to be in place to be a successful business. And so trend now moving away from an e-commerce business to, let's say, a business, you know?
Yeah.
Like we're seeing more brands now, let's say, enter the B2B or the retail space because they know they can use that as leverage and it's going to diversify their channels. We're seeing more and more businesses invest in team and back end to build for the future. We're seeing more businesses like adjust their mindset in terms of growth as well, you know, and be a bit more realistic and play the long game. And I think there's a bit of a consolidation in the market, and I think it's going to continue. I think the brands with the strong fundamentals, the right product market fit, and that build us back end are the ones that are going to stay the course. That's probably the biggest lesson I've learned.
It's a channel, not a business, isn't it? Like D2C fundamentally is a channel.
Yeah.
It's not a business type. Direct to consumer is a channel, and then the best businesses are the ones, or the most insulated businesses, and the biggest businesses do other things as well.
This dog's tail, bro.
He's gas.
He agrees.
But yeah, I think I agree. I think you can still start a business and get to great scale, keeping it simple in D2C, but you can't survive for the long run doing that. You've got to go for that transition point. It is definitely getting harder.
Just everything, like rising interest rates, you know, market sentiment. Like, again, it all has a knock-on effect. Like, if interest rates are rising, people want to be paid more. People want to be paid more, working in the factories, you know, it's just all feeds in. So that's why it's getting more difficult, isn't it? And you need to have that back end tight and just working everything. I think, product drops and MPD is definitely a massively underrated thing to bring CAC down.
It's hard to do, innit? Most launching new products, it's a lot harder than making new ads or spending money on another platform. It takes a lot more time, intention.
Yeah, it's more of a longer term play. Obviously, shoots, product, MPD, everything. Yeah.
In terms of your own business, what just like internally, how would you reflect on Q1 3?
I mean, for me, it's been an exciting year. I think for the first time ever, it's been a conversation of let's get more sales. You know, it's how can we make more benefit from the sales? How can we improve our operations? How can we expand the quality, not just quantity of the team? As you said, Matt, it's exciting because you can calculate, especially with yourself with forecast and stuff, you can calculate these changes and actually see that, you know, if you change, like for example, we're changing a lot of the packaging at the minute, and it's due to net monthly a saving of about 86,000, but to get a net benefit of 86,000, you're talking about getting an extra 400 grand in sales, 300 grand in sales. So ultimately now that is far easier than asking yourself, Ollie, just get us another 400 grand in sales. You know, it's fundamentally, there's a lot less to it. It's as simple as changing a box, where if I'm asking you to do the sales, you're talking content, structure, teams, ideation, you know, a massive process to get that, whereas it can be as simple as how do we use less void fill, how do we change the packaging so the damage is less, how do we improve the customer repeat purchase rate just by changing the offer in an insert in the parcel. And it's crazy that so many businesses you order from and they're not doing it because they've went straight into straight into living with 3PL where it's just empty box, bright and void full, and no insert because the 3PL charges an extra 10 pence per order to send an insert. Whereas if they had a simple insert, they would increase their RCR by 8-9%, which is worth far more than that. Do you know what? It's to me, it's harder in acquisition, but I don't necessarily think it's harder to build a brand. I think it's definitely going to be the easiest time, and now is the easiest time to build a brand because tomorrow's only going to be harder. So you have to constantly look at these sort of things. It's definitely the hardest time to acquire customers.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with it. I think there's more channels than ever to build brands on as well. There's more ways to do it. Look at the way, there's a lot of good brands springing up still. Some brands I spoke to a guy last Thursday who's doing 500k a month just through TikTok shop. What the fuck is
Selling
that?
what?
Beauty products. Absolutely ridiculous. Just that channel. No, that's not taking any other channel. Just TikTok shops, 500k a month.
But that is D2C 4 years ago. So it's when that TikTok shop turns off, then there's going to be that same scramble as.
It's just like there's so many there's so many channels. I think if you do it in the right way, content marketing, short form content, so many ways to get. Like we've just started to build an organic profile for another brand. Followers are going on that really easily, really quickly. It's getting more challenging, but it's still possible.
It's the whole argument that customers don't want to be customers; they want to be entertained first. It's the extension of that hook. Typically only talked about at the start of an ad, but it needs to. Customers want to be entertained first and then introduce a product. Even a lot of our best UGC on TikTok is comedy based because they want to be entertained first. They don't want to see a simple. Albeit it still works, you don't want to see a simple static ad on Facebook. There needs to be more depth. It needs to be a brand. I think the term brand has been overused for the last 5 years when they've just been a glorified product that they sell. It's not a brand, Whereas most of the copycats that you see at the minute, it's just product. There is no, like you're saying drinking space goods is a negative. I think it's a positive because because the space goods is the brand.
Yeah.
Someone else they could have mushroom based chocolate drink, and they're still calling it space goods, whereas it's actually another brand.
Kind of a bit like it. Well, I guess it's not quite the same because it's AG1, but I hear quite a lot of people say AG1, and then it's actually, but they also call it athletics greens. Like that's different.
Yeah, true.
But not to the same. Obviously, they're much closer than Rainbow just space goods.
Well, I'd like to be compared to £1 billion single SKU business. That's what I'm trying to do.
Seamus, in terms of, what's your, obviously you mentioned ecom reflectively, what's been your business's kind of Q1 to Q3 journey, and internally what's that look like?
Yeah, so I actually partnered up with a guy called Stu Morgan in Q1. Stu, again, very, very deep in the ecom space, and we kind of co-founded eClarity then together. Kind of took what I'd built and learned and what he'd built and learned and kind of joined forces. He was a CFO of Ruroc, scaled the shit out of them, and then was working for the Grow Foundation. So we've done that, and then we've hired a good few more people as well. Another person now starting tomorrow, Zach, and then we have a girl, Evie, who's coming from Lusso Stone. She was FC there. She's joining on the 1st of November. So I think our biggest challenge has just been finding people that have a good, even just a basic understanding, to be honest, of e-commerce finance, because it's so different to traditional finance, and it's a completely different mindset.
It's the same with marketing.
Like, it's night and day.
Same with hiring someone for marketing.
Yeah.
So hiring someone who's marketed for like a Ted Baker and getting him to come and work for an e-com brand is just, even running Facebook ads, it's just night and day different the way they can approach that. But
things are so fast paced as well, and you need to go against the grain and a lot of ways you're thinking. Like as I was saying earlier, sometimes you're better off spending more. Like, we found that lesson out in August, like, didn't we? Sometimes you're better off like spending more, making sure your contribution margin is staying at a good place, and then just obviously managing the cash flow around that. what are the reflections? Which I think it's important for people to take it seriously, really, and just stay on top of the finances, because a good finance person should actually save you money. They should not be a cost center. Like, they really should, over the course of a year. Like, and we generally say, like, people should be investing only 1 to 1.5%. Any 7-8 figure brand should only be investing, like, it's only 1.5% of revs going back into the finance function. That's more than sufficient. Whereas I'd say there's a lot of people out there investing less than 0.1%, to be honest, back into it.
We were paying our previous accountant £198 a month, to be precise. Which is probably something we overlooked for a while.
But it's the point, like, you just want to focus on acquisition, you want to focus on the sexy stuff.
Yeah. It's just
natural.
It's just something I fucking hate looking at, deeply. I hate looking at the Xero dashboard passionately.
Just such a yuck. It's stinking.
Yeah, it's just like a horrible place to be. But just but obviously it's the most important place in your business, isn't it? It's just like, it's like running Twitter ads.
Whereas for me, like, my Xero dashboard is probably your Shopify or AAA. Like, I love getting into someone's Xero and just it's just like
dismantling.
Just dismantling. It just tells a story. Like, it's the reason, like, reading the book, and you can just spot things so quickly. It's like, we know what their fulfillment cost as a percentage of revenue should be. Like, we know what a product margin should be in a specific industry. Like, we know these things, and like, we found like 6-figure VAT overpayments before, like, just paying too much for debt, or using the wrong type of debt for the wrong thing. Not matching it up. Every time we go in, we just find something that can be improved, and that's just bringing value back to the business. And like, I don't like accounting.
You came into my business and thought, what the fuck is this?
Tried to leave.
Sit here,
started sweeping up the floors.
But like, on a serious note, though, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but like, I'm not passionate about tax and accounting. It's boring. Like, it really is boring. But like, what I am passionate about is like helping people build businesses and providing value. And I just think if you put enough value out in the world, like, you're just going to get it back, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Unless you run a podcast where you don't get any referral fees.
Why are you looking at me? Should look at him.
Christ.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why I've slowed down the pace of the podcast. It doesn't pay me enough. So much effort. Put out so much value, and people just complain about the quality of the video cameras or something. It's like, fucking hell. Giving people a free MBA on this internet channel. Your next topic?
I was going to do a quick fire off the back of that. Biggest lesson from Q1 to Q3.
Oh, I've got to be politically correct here. I'll go first.
No, you don't.
Well, I don't. I mean, a pretty obvious one. I've said it on my own videos. Just fucking focus on the main thing.
Do less
too much fluff. Like,
do less better is like my biggest.
Basically, everything is a waste of time. Find out what's not a waste of time and do more of that.
Yep.
It's just like, it's a sad truth. It's also a very accurate reality.
I think that's a good one.
Make sure your contribution margin is at a sufficient level to cover your overheads. Yeah, but again, know your strategy. Like there's time. Like, I'd never like scaling a brand at a loss, but if you scale a brand at break even, I think it's okay. You just need to understand what's your strategy. Like, are you trying to scale that top line, and how do you manage that? Or are you trying to be profitable and sustainable? And I think founders just need to like decide, well, what's the strategy now? And your strategy is going to change throughout the quarter, throughout the year, throughout time. But just have a strategy really, and work to it and build a roadmap. Like, I don't think I've ever come into a client or anyone we work with that. I think actually you do, but like most clients we start working with, they never had like a forecast or a plan. It's like, how do you know where you're going if you don't have a plan to get there? If you get me.
We spend so much time building those for people. Just don't.
Yeah, I think I kind of had one, but more recently, obviously looking at raising venture capital and so on, which is kind of a different way of doing things. But yeah, I think like even I wasn't super clear like what the actual goal is. Like, I'll grow the business, make money, but like, are you going for an exit? Are you trying to just have an EBITDA profitable business that's kind of a lifestyle business? Do you want to build the next fucking Huel? They're all very different paths and require different strategies.
Yeah, it's fluid. It can be fluid as well. I think the most productive businesses that we grow the fastest from an agency perspective are the ones that have real clarity on one North Star metric. Whether that's NCPA, whether that's blended CPA, whether that's MER, one metric that guides all of the decision making from an acquisition perspective, and then probably the same, like something similar. You kind of want that for every channel, really, if you can. But like, those are the ones that I think having something to gauge most.
What would you say is the most beneficial North Star from what you've just mentioned?
The ones, it depends on the. That's a good question. It depends on kind of depends on the business and the goal of the business.
Goal of the business is to get to 50 million a year rev. What's your metric that you would have your North Star?
Again, it depends. It depends where they are in the journey. I think if you're a more mature brand, so for Tev, for example, you'd look at you'd base your acquisition off an NCPA number if you can. But then if you're like a subscription business, like I guess.
Yeah, I'd probably say subscribers, active subscribers.
It's going to be different.
Probably.
But then why active subscribers over churn rate?
For you?
Well, because it's active subscribers and like net new subscribers is the combination of good retention and good acquisition.
For you want to optimise off LTV to CAC ratio.
Yeah, but yeah.
You want your LTV to CAC ratio to be as high as humanly possible.
Because then you can raise a shitload of cash and never have to be profitable.
You can raise a lot of money, but you can also spend like you want to move more further. You want to move more and more towards an LTV model as you get bigger, because the confidence in that LTV number gets higher as the amount of people in that cohort gets bigger. So, and it also becomes harder at scale to still acquire on first order profitability. So the more room you have to move that CAC target up, the better. But then that again, it really depends. But we have to work through that process most of the time. Most of the people we onboard just don't have a fucking clue how much they should be paying to acquire a customer based on the costs. Like, not a Scooby. Like, might as well just lick the finger. We could just licking the finger and putting it in the air and be like, we'll fancy a 2 ROAS. And just like, it doesn't matter. It's just, which is interesting. So,
but what does that confrontation period look like, where you go to a brand and say, what do you want your North Star metric to be?
We walk them through like costs. We could get them to put it all into a spreadsheet, which can take fucking ages. Just like trying to get someone to pull their overheads and like.
That's weird.
Like you ideally get Seamus to do it. It's just like slinging in the spreadsheet and like, fill this in for me, chief.
Shake it out.
And then send it back.
I do think working out a break-even ROAS is a pretty useful blended metric as well.
Yeah, it is.
Because obviously CAC and everything, they're all kind of the same thing, but how low to the ground can you fly in theory?
There's a certain point at which that's like, I'd say that's like,
because also those numbers change at scale. It's like,
what I mean.
I've done a lot of work realising that if we can triple revenue, we can bring our ROAS way down.
Exactly.
But the challenge is, how do we get there in the next few months? Because then it's like chicken or egg. Do you scale to get to a lower ROAS, or do you stay better ROAS at a smaller scale? And
we take people through that kind of process, and then you want to ideally layer in some kind of form of like fuel profit. Like you need some extra profit above break even to fuel growth. Like if you just run at break even, you're just going to get to massive cash flow problems unless you have investment in capital.
See, that's why you need a model that will map all this out. So like, if I just ask a founder in isolation, what would you rather, a contribution margin of 25% or 15%? They're all going to say 25%.
Yeah.
What if I say you're doing 50k rev on 25% or 500k rev on 15%? You could be making a bottom line loss on the 25% contribution margin,
exactly.
But you could be making a profit on the 15%. And if you know your key inputs, if you know your NCPA, let's say a subscription brand, for example, if you know your NCPA, you know your churn rate or your churn rate target, you can model it out, like, and you can see where you're going to land if you hit your numbers. And then if you don't hit your numbers, you can see where you're behind. So if you're behind NCPA, you might go, well, was the creative on point, or do we need to do some work there on the front end? Or if churn rate is higher than expected, well, like, let's look at the retention strategies for the month gone by and what didn't work, what worked, and learn from that and get those feedback loops quicker and quicker. Because we sat down and went over that, didn't we? We identified what were the key levers, and it's just double down
we thought,
on them.
right now we're at 5 million a month. What do we need to do to get to 50 million a month? That's the conversation we had last week.
Yeah.
So
just get Ollie to spend more.
Yeah.
What was your biggest learning?
Quality team over quantity. I think for so long we were caring about how many staff we had and stuff like that, whereas now prefer half of the size and producing double output, which I don't think is actually too much of an ask. And other things, even as much as Q3, you know, there's a lot more work to be done. There's always work to be done bottom top rather than top down in terms of acquisition. Some of the running some numbers and seeing some of the differences that we can make in the business just fuels profit. Whereas, you know, you could drop that NCROS down 0.1 because of the improvements you can make everywhere else and grow the business so much more.
I think one last point, Alice, was the Q1 to Q3 reflections.
Yeah.
I think the one, if I was to pick one word for people to focus on, like, going forward, it would be efficiency. But I think too many people just get bogged down on, like, marketing efficiency, but there's other things you can look at throughout your business, whether it's, you know, supply chain. Like, whilst it might sound counterintuitive, like, sometimes we've taken a slightly higher product cost for better credit terms because it's going to free up cash flow, which is going to fuel acquisition, and you can pump the business up quicker. So things about looking at efficiency throughout your whole business, throughout your whole P&L, and try to rinse as much of it as you can, because that's just going to put much more cash flow and inject more back into the business. It's going to allow you push on. I think it's going to look at it like that perspective, like what efficiency can you eke out in every single part of your business.
Yeah.
I think e-com is an awful trend of just looking at marketing and ROAS and just getting too focused on that. I need to take a step back. Like, sometimes there's macro things going on you've no control over, and you're just trying to fight against it, which you're always going to lose, you know?
Yeah, very true.
100%. There's so many places to do it as well. So, like, so many different areas to test. And
you can think, how can I save money on buying these shoes from the prehistoric era?
What, my Birkenstocks?
Your recession-proof sandals. I say that wearing fucking whatever these
you
are.
got Uggs on.
Yeah, Ugg slippers.
Yeah, mine's just, my reflection is still, like, it's probably been this for like 12 months now. It's just people. I think people are everything, but people are also nothing if you get it wrong. Like finding one really good person to bring into the business can one really good person can have an absolutely transformative effect on a business, but one really bad person can be an absolute nightmare.
It's the rotten egg effect, isn't it?
Yeah, and
you
I
have
think
to remove that egg before it.
I think, like,
rots
at the size where the growth we've had has all been the people within the team that have facilitated it and allowed me to do what I'm good at, whilst they're better than me at other things. And I think that's the key, and that's carried on this year. I hopefully it'll carry on next year.
Yeah, we're the same. I think the biggest change we've had is just bringing in great people. Like, it just really allows you to push on.
So we've done our reflective piece. How is everyone shaping up for Q4? You ready? You ready for Q4?
We're about 3 days out from selling out of product, so we're not that.
So no.
It's a bit to the wire right now on stock and stuff. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I think Chris from Saw said to me, "Have you planned Black Friday?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that." I think it's a bit different when you have a very limited product offering, because the challenge for me is that if I discount loads, it pisses off all our subscribers, which I found out last year. So I actually don't know what we're going to do for Black Friday. I mean,
Gift purchase is surely the...
Yeah, stuff like that. Adding value instead of discounting, just giving extra shit. But I mean, the goal will be just to acquire subscribers. That's, like, in my opinion, that's the main goal for a business like mine. And hit the targets, obviously, which we haven't been doing in recent months. But I think this month, well, given it's the first day of the month, it's already looking a lot better. So
it is.
A lot of momentum,
yeah. That was the problem. I think August we cut spend loads, thinking that was a great idea because let's just be efficient. CAC ended up going up. Our new customer revenue tanked. We weren't testing any new shit, so our ad performance went to shit. Then we spent 3 out of 4 weeks of September catching up. So now the last week of September was way better, and now we finally have momentum again. So it's like, don't kill momentum in ad spend because it's fucked.
You've just focused again as a business.
Yeah, that as well.
You're just taking space goods.
Focused on the one thing.
Overdosing on my own product.
It's not all bad though, because we tried it and now we know for definite that doesn't work like that strategy. So
yeah, defo.
It's not a bad thing, anything that doesn't work out is just simply a learning, more than anything. Do you know?
Yeah, and we got like 2 new SKUs coming in Q4, which I feel like is probably too many because it's a lot of new shit to sort out. Another new flavour, relaunching the nighttime product, which could actually be pretty sick.
I think
the new flavour was, in hindsight, probably a bad idea, but whatever.
I think that's a good idea. It's limited edition, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's too much of it, in my opinion. But it'll sell. It's fine.
I think it's a good product. I think it's perfect for the time of year you're launching it.
Then another new product in January. Then potentially a retail product as well. There's a lot of new shit.
Exciting.
Exciting.
So
I think for us, Q4 compared to last year we ran out of stock like 7 times.
Yeah, you kept
This year we've got
telling me to turn off ads. It's so boring.
yeah.
This year we've got what? 2 million
bottles.
2 million bottles coming.
Yeah. When did we sit down in like March, didn't we?
2 million bottles.
2 million
Yeah,
bottles,
these
yeah.
were serious numbers.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
More than that, isn't it? It's 2.7.
In terms of landing, or when we're going to have
Landing.
Yeah.
So we're very, very stocked, prepared for Ollie's wrath
Yeah.
and spend.
I'm going to spend some money.
But I remember we sat down, I think, in March and
On
planned
Black
this out.
Friday, do you just sit there with the fucking... He puts a hood on. He goes to the computer. Like, does a warm-up of his wrist. And starts to stare.
And doesn't move.
Yeah.
Adds the zeros.
Yeah. Just keeps his eyes open.
Obviously, our brand's very, very structured around a very good November. I think for Black Friday, what we want is £1 million day. Seamus is looking at me as if to say I wasn't supposed to say that, but we hit half of that last year, and it was still our best ever day. But we can do a lot more. I think we had you on a leash last year, didn't we?
Yeah, we turned ads off on the Sunday of Black Friday.
Saturday morning.
of Black Friday, which was really...
£8.50.
How much would you spend on Black Friday to do £1 million a day?
Ollie? Too much. Seamus, shut your ears.
It's not driven. It's not massively. It won't be entirely driven by spend. It's more the structure of the planning up until that point to build enough awareness to allow us.
But still, how much would you spend on Black Friday to hit £1 million a day?
A decent amount.
Whack. I think that for us, Black Friday started in February. Do you know the discussion in March about February was about how many new customers we acquired that are naturally going to buy gifts in November.
Yeah, we've gone really heavy on new customer acquisition for 7 or 8 months. And then we've also done a lot of work on churn rate and like 60-day churn rate, and both of those are heading in the right direction.
Do you have subscriptions?
No, but like churn from a like a customer list perspective, like people who buy again within 60 days of buying, just measure it in a different way and just count churn as a different number.
Yeah.
Both of those have been on a really good trend, and then we're layering in a lot more awareness. The thing for us going into the biggest thing for me for Q4 is I want to come out at the end of Q4 with 3 profitable brands. Like that's the journey we want to go on. And then have the operations set for that launch period of brands. So we've got another one going live in October.
Why?
It's going to be a whack.
I'm too autistic to fucking have more than one brand.
Because it's
Tried that.
This is really exciting. It's
it's
a brand called Liquid London. It's going to be a pheromone based brand. So we're going to launch with 3 fragrances for him, for her, and for everyone. And
For him, for her, and for them.
for everyone.
Just trying to
Them's
make
a nightmare.
it politically correct.
As in, like, for them, I think you'd see that as being like
Ostracising.
seen a lot of brands get a lot of hate for doing that.
What do you mean?
Seeing as like using that as like a revenue generation source and not actually standing for it, so you just want to be kind of careful with that. But
yeah, it's a very exciting brand. The whole point of the fragrance is that it smells different on everyone. So if I spray for him and Ollie sprays for him on us, it's going to smell different on me than Ollie. It hasn't really been done well in the UK or anywhere. Apart from Eccentric Molecule, they do it well, but their marketing's a bit naff.
they're all B2B really, aren't they?
That raises a good point. Like, we're talking about Q4. Like, we've been planning Q4 since the start of the year. Like, so it's like,
Am I the only one that hasn't even thought about it?
most brands
No.
have. But like, like a lot of brands will make the bulk of their profit in Q4, and it's like your strategy is like, how heavy do you want to go on acquisition in the start of the year and managing stock and cash flow, and then invest more in acquisition in Q1 through Q3 to get that back in Q4 and get those profits back. And that's why forecasts and planning and strategy is so important, and not just taking it month by month, like having already a full year plan and working towards it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, we've been really trying to I've been spending loads of time going deep into YouTube for the last 2 months to try and spend a lot of money on there. And it's starting to work really well, which is great. Never really done a lot of YouTube performance.
It's interesting you say that, because the data guys we're working with, they did some really complicated attribution model thing, and they presented it on the call that you weren't on Friday, to like Chris and so on, and they said YouTube's the biggest opportunity.
It is, but it costs a lot of money to do. Like, you need to take big swing tests. You need to go in and spend at least like 2k a day to get enough data through. They'll have done last click attribution modelling up to your impressions probably, which is what we use.
And TikTok's starting to seem pretty good.
Was that through the same model?
I think so.
Yeah, they'll use the same. So we use a platform called Phosphor, which is like MMM modelling. So what that does is it takes
Was
like
it mixed media marketing or something?
Yeah, it takes like your last click attribution for each platform and then models it up to your platforms. So when we've plugged in platforms to that, it massively. Traditionally, most attribution models will downweight things that are very reliant on view through attribution. But as you go further up the funnel, so as you go to TikTok, it's more view through. As you go to YouTube, it's even more view through. So you're going to end up with like our in-platform ROAS on YouTube is going to be like 0.5, but then you need to find some sources of truth that validate it to be like, oh, this is actually working. So like ours is post-purchase surveys and Phosphor, and it's like, well, actually, it's not 0.5, it's this. So now I've got a bit of confidence to go and spend some money into it.
An important thing about YouTube is it's very hard to catch up. So even for brands like yourself, got a lot of copycats. We get a lot of copycats. We're going there because for them to catch up with us, it's going to cost them quite a lot of money. So it's almost like a further level of brand protection.
It's a lot harder to execute on, yeah.
You know,
It's like another moat.
yeah. Like we became the fragrance brand we became the TikTok fragrance brand, but now we can become the YouTube fragrance brand. Very, very.
Is that like a long form YouTube ad? Or is it like shorts?
YouTube's generally it's not shorts. YouTube's generally higher production, so it's going to be harder to emulate that sort of style of video.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of high prod. We're doing high prod YouTube pre-roll, and then we are running some shorts because we've got fucking so much UGC. Yeah. It's like, but that's a different, like you layer that into the campaign, so and you kind of want to cover as many video placements as possible, and then we're spending a decent amount on that and just trying to scale. I see that as being like the channel for us. Like at certain scales, you have to you need more top of funnel. Trying to really push that, but I think that'll help a lot into Q4.
Have you done affiliate on like Square Dance before?
Not Square Dance, no.
I started looking at it. I've been doing a tiny bit of it, which I keep forgetting to put into our fucking budgets. Then it's like, oh, we spent $5,000 more on marketing than I thought. Seems pretty scalable.
Really?
It feels like you could do a dirty chart
Square
scale.
Dance or affiliates?
So Square Dance is the platform. I just like the fact it's fixed CPA. Like you only pay if you only pay that per customer.
So it's a really scalable channel. Like and
yeah, I spoke to the founder. He said like Mudwater, a bunch of my competitors are scaling hard on it. Are scaling hard on it.
It's the prime.
He said they
example.
spend $200,000 a day on it.
Yeah, on it do a lot. On it have got a lot of people. It's just people who will take your product and market it for you, and you just play them if they get a CPA.
Yeah, I think the risk is like them cannibalizing your key market. So I would only do it in a market we're not running in, probably.
Yeah. Also, the brand kind of like are they going to be on brand? I guess is something you want to consider, but it's what you want to.
Yeah.
Depends what you want to do. But affiliates is a channel. I've seen a lot of brands do some volume through affiliates. Affiliates have their own customers as well. It's a big channel.
Yeah.
We do more and more of that, and it's very scalable. So I think is that the. Yeah, so I think my personal aim for Jack is to try and get, not just Teb, it's more focused on what we're trying to build as a group and get the other brands really moving. I also think Q4 is like holistically treated as like Black Friday, Cyber Monday only, but there's actually quite a lot of other things in the period.
Yeah.
Like
Halloween, Christmas,
Prime Day, halfway through October. We've done some really good Prime Day activations for people. Surprisingly well. There's a Singles Day in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember what day that is as well. I think that would work really well. It's like Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving falls at such an awkward time though. If you've got a US market, it's like 2 days before Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
I think January as well. January would probably be bigger for us than
you must get the New Year,
November, December. I think
New Year, New Me crowd.
Or
like
January.
CAC was the lowest all year in January. I mean, granted, we've only done 1 year, so but
I
still.
guess when you get to the end of November, you're very much in the mindset of what am I buying for other people. As much as you buy for yourself, probably for those couple of days you do a bit of both. But like you're in gifting season, aren't you?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like you get to January, people become very like New Year goal orientated, and I feel like your product aligns really heavily with that.
Yeah.
Same with back. I still think you could coordinate a really good campaign around back to university.
Kind of missed the boat there, haven't we?
Yeah, as in like one for like next year. Like I think that's a prime time, so like you could do some really good messaging around it.
Yeah.
Our Jan cohort last year was the strongest, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it just goes to show.
Just going to spend 5 million on Instagram ads in January.
No, you're not.
Just get a ridiculous amount of credit lines and just hope for the
Seamus'
best.
problem now. Just pass on the problem.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Looking to 2024, what do you think the year will be like? Do you see any headwinds, any challenges? I thought September was interesting because middle of September was challenging for a lot of people, for a lot of brands we work with.
It's always comforting when you realise that everyone else is shitting themselves as well, not just
But
you.
it's fundamentally a bad month. You're coming into the period where this is the first time of the year where people are thinking, oh fuck, Christmas is so close. How they're looking at their paydays, they've only got 3 paydays to Christmas. They're starting to set aside money. I'm sure pot noodle sales fucking skyrocket in September because they're looking to save money on what they're eating. Do you know? So fundamentally, people like I hate looking on Twitter and saying, "Oh, Meta shit itself this month." It's fucking September. It's a 5-week month. It's September. People have no money. Back to school. All their free money's going on their kids.
I didn't
so
really
much
even
going
think
on.
of that. Yeah, that's true.
I think it's definitely that. I think like
Macro.
macro.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
easy to think the algorithm has changed. It's like, no, just look at the fucking reality of the world.
But I'm sure like one hits the other. Meta's going to shit itself because there's so many different triggers. Because of all this, they're not spending, they're not clicking through, they're not adding to cart. Then all of a sudden, Meta's algorithms fuck up because there's such a vast difference. So it does lead to Meta shitting itself. Like a lot of people saying cost caps are going, anyone that's got an ad account based on cost caps is not spending. Obviously, the customers aren't fucking there. That's what you want cost caps for.
It's just an element of like consumer confidence, isn't it? Like how much are people willing to spend money in that time period? And then you always see it with for those months that are shit in the middle of the month, you always have a really good payday, which even like
validates the point.
Validates it even more. Like we saw a massive uplift for most of the brands across our portfolio from about Thursday afternoon onwards. People just started spending again.
Yeah,
properly.
we did as well.
It's
We had our
just like-
best payday in months.
Yeah, way better. And it preceded a less efficient, like 10 day, probably the least efficient 10 days we've had in
I think
as well.
when you have a challenging month like that, sometimes you're better off zooming out and not looking at monthly performance, but look at quarterly.
Yeah.
Like the last quarter's performance compared to the same quarter last year or the quarter previous to that, and zoom out a little bit. You know, because even the way the weekends like lie, like, you know, you might get 2 activations in 1 month and then none the next month, only 1 the next month, and what? So then 1 month's performance might be overinflated. So zoom out a little bit and look at performance on a quarterly basis too can be useful.
Yeah, I think like it'd be interesting to see what 2024 is like. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about recession this year. I think it's been more challenging, but I still think like if you've approached it in the right way, people have been able to effectively grow still.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people still buy products that are good.
Yeah.
Like, consumers is the biggest, I think someone said it's the biggest market in the world. Like, everyone says, oh, consumers fucked.
Yeah.
People buy products at the end of the day.
People spend their disposable income on
exactly.
shit they don't need
So,
all the time.
I think, like, you know, cream always rises to the top, doesn't it? So, like, if you have a good product and a good brand and a good business, focus on the controllables, you're always going to make money. There's always going to be a market out there for you.
yeah, definitely.
What's your macro plan for next year other than releasing 50 products and hitting 5 in a month? Personally and business. This is like an end of year podcast. Maybe we're going too far into.
I'd like to 3x what we've done this year, next year. I think it's challenging, but would be doable, would be a good result. Yeah, that's probably like the main thing.
It's pretty fat. Pretty doable though, I think.
But I just think when you're in this early stage, you should be
Yeah,
3x in every year. I think you should triple for like 3 years from the start. I think I read somewhere that the best businesses triple, double. That's generally a good metric.
Yeah, I was looking at
So like 1, 3, 9, 18, 36 would be like a great 5
The
years.
number one e-commerce brand on Sunday Times list, only 324 over 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah, I looked at Lululemon. I've been looking at I've just been reading into it loads because it's just a mad business.
His Audible's really good.
Yeah, it is. That's why I started reading into it. But they've grown 37% on average, 37% a year for 18 years. To 1.8.
And it's literally
like,
the smoothest line ever.
It's like
just
really
slow,
consistent, efficient growth year on year for 18 years.
How big is it now? Bigger than that, isn't it?
$1.3 billion it did last year.
I thought it was like 10 billion.
No, maybe valuation.
Oh, maybe valuation, right.
But I think they did 1.3 billion revenue last year. Which is pretty
Are you
mad.
sure? I swear it's bigger than that because Gymshark's like $500 million, and they've got to be way bigger than Gymshark.
Well, 1.4 is way bigger.
Yeah.
It's only 3 times bigger.
Maybe
I thought they were
cash.
10 times bigger. I could be wrong. Just quickly search that.
I did think they were bigger than that. Like.
Maybe I've got that.
I think they're closer to 8 billion revenue.
Maybe I did get that wrong. Yeah, it's 8.1.
That was right.
You were right.
But that just goes back to the point, like,
Where did
about
I get that
building
number from?
a sustainable business model that can take that growth.
Now I'm gonna have to
Because there is a thing, like, if you go to the banks, like, and it's kind of, again, counterintuitive, their biggest fear is over-trade. Well, not their biggest fear, but one thing they will look at, and they'll, like, are you over-trading? Are you pushing too much?
Oh.
Are you buying too much stock? Are you investing too much in acquisition? Then it's over-trading, and then the wheels can come off, you know?
I must have got that wrong. I must have got that brand completely wrong. The market cap's 48 billion, so I was absolutely miles off. I don't know what brand I was
1.4
on.
in the 1.4 in leggings alone.
Let's change the
Yeah,
brand.
sounds more realistic.
I haven't got a clue what brand it was, but there was a brand that I looked at that had done. It was like primarily e-com.
It was the smooth that was
It was
Lululemon,
like
yeah.
it had done like 37% growth.
It was definitely Lululemon, isn't it? Yeah.
Really consistently.
Since 2002 or something.
Yeah, which is nuts. I think 3x is reasonable. Big challenge.
Yeah. Keep it simple, really. That's probably the goal. Keep it simple.
80-20 rule. Like, what 20% of efforts or activities will bring 80% of the value back in?
Yeah, it's basically just spend more on a good ad to a good landing page with a good product. That's literally it.
I think until you do 10 mil a year, definitely. At least 10 mil a year. And then you can... One channel or 2 channels can do that. But it is.
I think one thing that's not talked about either is, like, geographies. I think a lot of, like, brands will go too broad too early and try to take over the world. Whereas, like, if you're born in the UK or you're born in Ireland, you know the market. So why are you trying to sell into, like, some random place like, I don't know, Bulgaria, where you have no idea of the market norms or market sentiment?
Everyone needs their fragrance, chief.
I mean, early days. What's the biggest thing you're doing differently now compared to, let's say, 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
I don't actually know. I feel like I do the same fucking shit. I wake up, go to my computer, have my same routine. I suppose it's probably just slightly more refined in terms of what I'm doing. Definitely, maybe planning more. Whereas I used to this Chad scale, which was
Got the chicken.
a bad idea. Just brought the loud, crinkly chicken. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was trying to overcomplicate it recently, like past few months, and then it comes back to just at the end of the day, as a founder, you're just like some cunt with a mad idea that just has to build a business and be a bit fucking gritty with it, especially at this like small scale that we're still at as a new brand. Yeah, it's just me sat there.
It's not a bad place to be sat with this.
No.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I can't really complain. I suppose the thing I'm trying to do is like think like, how could I be running this brand in 10 years, not like 2 years? It sounds a bit ridiculous to say that when it's fucking 17 months old, but ultimately, if you want to build something really valuable, it probably is 10 years.
That makes more sense because, again, it's easier to grow 30% per year over 10 years than 3x for 3 years, you know? Especially from a financial point of view, from a MPD point of view, from a branding point of view, Like imagine that subscriber list at the current rate in 10 years time. Do you know? So like, why would you give, if you're profitable now, why would you give VCs that extra chunk if your plan is the 10-year plan? Like that current subscriber rate, what's that going to be with the current NCBA? What's that going to look like in 10 years? It's going to be like massive. Do you know? Of course you.
Well, I'd still rather do it in 3 years though.
But at what
cost? At what cost?
I'll sell my soul.
Going to zero. No, but I think the main priority for every founder should be just like staying in the game, and not taking those big risks that could like.
You think I learned it early on? Like I generally think if I sold my brand, the first thing I'd do would be fuck all my money against the wall trying to get the brand again. Yeah. So I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with my day-to-day. I'm happy with what I do, and I just want to do that for the rest of my life. That is my piece. I go on nice holidays. I go to nice places. If I do that for the rest of my life, I'm happy. You know.
That's the first question I ask any founder I start working with them. Like, well, what is the goal? I think there's really 3 main goals. Like, do you want a cash flow business, like lifestyle business? Are you trying to build a brand bigger than you that's going to like outlast your lifetime, or are you building for an exit? And I don't think many founders actually ask themselves that question, and are honest enough with themselves to know what business they're building, because every decision is going to actually be based off that.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was a YouTube video I watched, and it was like people on death's door, so people when they're about to die, and every single one of them talked about how that they wish they'd done things sooner, and they wish they enjoyed. Basically, the whole thing was that they wish they enjoyed the journey from the day to day of what they'd done, rather than just building to an exit and selling. Because realistically, it's like retiring. You just go up and up and up, and then you realise that everything that you've done is what you enjoy, not getting that retirement fee or then sitting in the house doing nothing. You know, and I think that was a big key point where I turned around and went like, right, I want to enjoy the day to day. You know.
Yeah, process over outcome.
Yeah.
I think I heard it's a bit cheesy, but I heard a good quote. I think it was from Jim Rohn. It was like, aim to become a millionaire, not to make a million, but in order to become the person that required to make a million, and then give it all away. That makes sense. It's cheesy, but it makes sense. Like strive for it, not for the monetary value, but the person you'd have to become and the skills you'd have to acquire to get there.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting perspective to think about.
I do also genuinely want to build a massive brand though. It's not even about just the personal gain.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it?
It's like,
It is,
I think it'd be
that's
way cooler to have a brand doing 100 million a year than have one that's doing 5. I feel like it's probably the same amount of stress, no?
No,
Stress either way.
Well,
depends how you build it.
I think your
Depends
stress
how you get there,
tolerance will grow.
Depends how you get there. Do you want to get the 100 million a year but work with 10 blood-sucking VCs that want every hour of your day?
I think
If that's what it takes to get there, then yeah.
But then you won't enjoy your day because you've got such and such barking down the fact that you're out in a Ferrari during the day.
Oh, definitely not though. Right now.
there's a lot of companies that have. I guess when you answer into someone,
The whole point of the fact that you've done this is to not answer to someone. So why answer to someone to get to where you think you want to be, but still answer to someone?
I think it has to be there. You have to be aligned with the person you take the money off. There's a lot of companies that have died because they've been a slave to then growth that's really hard to hit. I think it's different when you're not as. That's usually much bigger companies where they take money at a larger scale and then have to grow to something that they can't or don't have the means to do.
Well, even obviously, like
Interesting, though.
personally, we were on a call where we were with a financial body looking to take money from them, and we ended the call early because he was a cunt. I was like, I don't want to have to listen to the end of it. I don't want to be on another call with you. I don't want it that much, so no, go away. You know?
Yeah, depends who they are.
The only people I have to answer to is Ollie and Seamus, and that's already too much, you know?
And your wife.
Yeah, well.
I was going to ask about organic strategy because it's something I'm going deep into at the moment. I know you've just had some success with it on TikTok. I think it's for us somewhere where we're doing a bit of a rework at the moment. And it's something that I think is undervalued right now because it's probably easier to grow organic profiles than it has been in a long time. What did you do there? Did you just change? You've changed to quite an entertainment-led format, haven't you? Like just
Yeah, we
basically
did-
asking people in Camden.
Yeah, we
if
did
they've
that.
done Shrooms.
Then I thought that the funniest one, it wasn't my idea, but Mums on Mushrooms
I
got
saw
millions of views. It's just middle-aged women drinking rainbow dust, painting in a fucking
I
affluent
saw that.
household.
It was funny.
And it
It's
just slapped.
painting.
And now people want to watch the next episode, and it's an episode series.
Who orchestrated that?
This agency we're working with are pretty good. Like, there's guys in their early 20s. I was just like, just do shit that gets views. I don't care what it is. It literally was the roof. And now I want to get the massive mushroom and start doing stuff with that more often, because I've got a massive mushroom in my bedroom in a box that's 6 meters tall, but we don't have a generator that's strong enough to fucking inflate it, so I need to find one.
You blow it up, G, if you got big lungs.
Yeah.
That could be a video.
So
How long is the TikTok?
yeah, I've just been lazy with that. I think doing shit like that would just slap because no one else is doing it.
There's a really good business called Mini Katana.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He does 1.3.
Billion
I
views.
think it was 1.3 billion views. I'm now
month.
questioning every number I say because of that Lululemon incident.
He just makes them up.
Yeah, just
No,
fucking-
I think
all
it actually was.
1.3.
I think it was like a billion views a
I think
month.
it was like over 1 billion views a month just off like, or that because he couldn't run it because it's a sword. He couldn't run it on, couldn't run ads on Meta.
He
It's
sells swords on the
like
internet.
literally a weapon. He couldn't run it, so he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna grow it by content." He grew a fat business
Yeah.
through just like really entertaining mini katana content with swords. Some of the stuff, you seen the video of the guy chopping a bullet in half?
Yeah.
Fucking mad. Some of the content he makes is nuts. So he just gets he's built such a massive following. But then I think if you're making, I think that's the most important thing for any brand, is just making really good content on any channel. It's like, if you can't do that, you're fucked at this point. You have to be laser focused on that.
That comes down to knowing who you are as a brand, though, doesn't it? First and foremost.
Yeah, and why people buy from you, which most people don't fucking know. Like, they don't know what problem they're solving. They don't know why someone likes buying the product.
It again goes into brand over product. You know, a lot of brands are just products. Do you know? Whereas people enjoy a brand because, again, it enjoys them. They're intrigued, curious, they like the brand story, but a lot of people just have products that they just tend to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I have a brand yet. I feel like I have a nice aesthetic. I have a colour scheme and a product. Kind of. I think most people, when they say brand, like on Twitter, they just mean a visual identity. They don't mean a brand. Because a brand is like
It's
about
still a brand.
emotion.
It's still a brand. Like, what? There's like 10 copycats that have
Yeah, I
stole
guess.
the colorway and the gradient, and the flavors. They're still, like, again, it's going back to the fact that I called it I'm drinking space goods. I'm
Yeah,
drinking
true.
a brand. Do you know, it's like Hoover. You're hoovering the floor. It's that brand aesthetic.
Is Hoover a brand?
Hoover's a brand, yeah.
I thought it was just a word.
It's not. Look up
Vacuum,
the
yeah.
dictionary. It's a vacuum. I
Fucking
always thought
hell.
that for years as well. Hoover's not a real word.
It's
the
like
same thing, yeah.
Google something, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Have a space goods, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, true.
Space goods.
To play in that.
Same thing though.
Yeah, that's cool. Anything to add?
I'm just trying to, well, we've done it. We've kind of done organic, like, but we've just not done it as well as I think. I think like the more we want to do, like, I think it becomes a bigger channel the bigger you get as well. I think that kind of percentage of revenue coming from organic, you want it to be growing as much as possible. As you get larger, it prevents you having to pay to acquire more of the same customers over and over again.
I just feel like you can't rely on organic to scale a business though.
No, you
It
can't.
feels like a nice like sprinkle on top because they'll always change the algorithm and make you pay.
Yeah,
But at the
Look
same
at
time-
Instagram. You used to get
How many
Bare likes on
customers,
Instagram.
how many customers from acquisition go on to these channels
Yeah, you want
to see what the brand
You want it to be
Yeah.
something that holds people. Like, I think you can definitely make organic something that people come back to you for other reasons than just to see the product.
It's the same thing. It's like, how do you improve revenue per session? The big thing is just keeping customers on site for as long as possible. Naturally, not always, but naturally that sort of is parallel. The longer they're on site, the more chance they are to buy. You know, and that counts to that organic strategy. If they're on Instagram, they like the visualization, they like the information that you're given, and then they're on TikTok, they're entertained. They're more likely to buy. They're on your page over other people's pages. You know.
It's about touch points, isn't it? You want, like, some people might need one touch point on your product or your brand to buy. Others might need 10.
Yeah. They said it's like the average. So I seen a TikTok on it. It's like the average. 5 years ago was 7 touch points that someone did it with your brand, and now it's something like it's like 12 or 13.
It's probably
Which
because
is
there's so much fucking content these days.
Yeah.
Some people, some of my mates went on a holiday. I didn't go on it, and they were all like, one of the guys on holiday. It was on holiday. And he spent 9 hours in a day on TikTok. Like it's some serious addiction.
Vibes.
Like, it's some serious dopamine addiction. I think when I use TikTok, my general attention span decreases, like very quickly.
Yeah, it's a big psyop from China to ruin every Western brain.
I'm not on TikTok.
I haven't used TikTok in fucking months. I don't go on it, other than the ads manager.
Yeah.
I was the cunt that spent 9 hours on TikTok and all night.
The only place I view TikToks is a 4-play ads dashboard of best performers and motion, but the app itself is just awful for you, like mentally, I find.
Would you have an ideal target like of rev organic versus paid?
It's just not something I've ever done in depth, organic marketing. It's quite fun, I think. It's naturally more creative. I feel like you're not as. Whereas like I find making content for paid is quite like data driven and formulaic. Making content for organic is like, how do we be entertaining by default and make it fit our brand? I think but in terms of like rev target, I haven't got a clue. I think that'll differ massively by brand and how they've grown previously, whether they're more heavy like influencer versus paid, how strong the profile is. I think I just think the bigger you get, probably the more percentage you want. Like it's obviously favourable for that percentage to grow.
I was going to say that like as each year that passes, you want more percentage of rev coming from organic each year that passes as the brand matures.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because you should have a stronger
word of
brand
mouth,
presence.
repeat, etc.
Yeah, I still think you can slam a community and do really well through it. People love it.
Yeah, it's
Another
touch
thing I
points.
haven't got around to.
It's touch points. Is like, how do you increase touch points?
Yeah.
With people that are closer to that funnel of terms of buying. You know, community naturally, they've heard of your brand, they know what you're about, they know what you're selling. What are they there for? They want if they join a community, they want reasons to buy. They want reasons to be entertained. They want reasons to ultimately buy more products. How to use your product better, especially for years. Like community would be amazing for like a recipe book or something similar to that, where they want other ways to use your product.
Yeah, true.
Because we spoke about this the last day with the team about like the customer journey. Like, you know, if everything's on point, like, you know, someone goes on, buys on your site, seamless. You say you're going to deliver within 24, 48 hours to get the product. Product is banging. They have a customer service query, it's addressed to it. Well, they're going to shout about your product from the rooftops to other people. That's organic. That's getting sales through a non-paid source. So there's those things as well we should be laser focused on and just have really, really like high ambitions and high performance or high standards across the whole customer journey. And it doesn't stop when you convert. It never stops, really.
It's interesting to see who does. Did you see the Mark Zuckerberg, Lex Fridman metaverse interview they did?
No.
It's pretty jokes. They just both stood there, really awkwardly having a conversation in the metaverse for 3 hours on an interview. But they look like exactly like each other in real life. I wonder how that's gonna. Because when that Apple headset comes out, so surely
Pro
like
Display or something.
What brand's going to be the first to do it? It's going to be a brand with like a really affluent audience. I just think that's going to be really funny. Like, there's going to be some cringe stuff that happens.
How the fuck can we get perfume to work in the metaverse?
Yeah.
Send them a little smell whipper that they put in the nose.
But it's funny, obviously, communities, if you have that community base, it brings you closer to your customer. It was funny, one of our competitors, their community is all about, is nothing to what they want it to be. They use it as basically like an eBay. They buy each other's products that they don't like off each other on their community. But in turn, that keeps their returns rate so low for some reason that they just don't want to return it. They do offer 30 days returns, but they still want to buy it to each other. They want to inverse with other fragrance heads, you know. That was until they removed me because they found out who I was.
Now there's a niche niche for everything, isn't there? Like,
But you just don't know there's a niche until you're in the space.
there's there's a subset of people who are fascinated with something, like everything. There's so many weird little like cults on Reddit and stuff that have like got an obsession with.
I'm in a sausage dog walking WhatsApp group, and I've never once been to one of them. I've been in the group for 2 years, and some of the chat in there is just absurd. You heard that?
I think, and like there's a few brands we work with, like they're in that kind of niche area, and then they just have like a Discord, and like, you know, thousands of people, and they just do a drop straight into the Discord and just sell out.
Yeah, I met a guy.
It's ridiculous. Like,
I met a guy at a Geek Art event in San Diego who ran a lot of the. He runs an agency that focuses on like rappers' fashion lines, and he used to just run up Discord groups and drop and do like 500k in a day, and then just do another drop the next month. Just do that over and over and over again. It would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. These hype streetwear brands in America. Yeah, he had it like down to a perfect science. It was nuts. It's like all these nuts community-driven things. I don't really know how to phrase this. I wanted to discuss like roles in businesses. Obviously, like you two kind of have the same role. Well, we all have different roles in the different organisations we're involved in. It's like, how has that role developed over time? Where do you see it going? Where do you like how is your responsibilities? Because I feel like my responsibilities from an agency perspective, is to give context to this, has changed a lot in the last like 24 months, and it changes quite rapidly every like 6 months. I found. So you'd go from like when I first started, obviously doing a lot of the legwork, then it was like building processes, operations, and hiring. And then it was more like developing senior team, still hiring, and now it's kind of like very much like top from an agency perspective, very top level strategy, with a couple of key hires, but more like setting a vision of the company to the people who work for you. And I think that's a very underappreciated thing. Is like, how do you keep your team like bought into what you're building and going
the journey.
The journey. That's something I'm trying to get better at, is like setting that from the top down.
Yeah.
And I've seen that like very tangible change in what my role over the last like 18 months from that side. And same in Jack, really. It's like probably going to change as we grow that team out more and more.
I think for me, definitely obviously similar to you, or you were almost doing everything to building that team. I think for the last 6 months, well, the last 12 months, that's what I focused on, is putting the right people in the right positions. Whether it be HR, operations, finance, yourself, Ollie, obviously building your team. But now it's actually went down. It's almost full circle where I want to be more involved on shop floor, change the things right at the bottom, because they're the things that make the most impact. Whether it be things that I simply enjoy. I love, obviously owning 3 fragrance brands. I love fragrance. I want to be involved more in the NPD side. I want to be involved more in the customer experience, because that's what I think lacks in the fragrance world. So it just goes full circle, but I think at the same time you always sort of, as a founder, have to slink into the thing that's underperforming, whether it be anything. So, if, say, say operations is failing, I want to drop myself in there, improve things. If I enjoy it, we'll keep at it. If I don't, get the best person that can do it in and do it. Like, we're in a really good position where we've sort of poached some of the best talent in that I think in the UK. Whether from a HR point of view, recruitment point of view, finance point of view, strategy point of view, graphic design. Like, we've got one of the best graphic designers I've ever worked with. Copywriters as well. Like, we're 9 out of 10 times we hire the right person for that right role, and I think that's the most important thing. It's funny how you seem to go full circle.
Well, you're only as strong as your bottleneck, aren't you? It's about identifying that, fixing that, and move on to the next one. There's always going to be a weakest link in the chain. Always, I think, as a founder or like an MD or whatever you want to call it, it's about identifying them and fixing or optimizing that and moving on to the next one.
So this time last year I was just fucking stock controller for 3 months.
Yeah.
Because he fucking sold too much.
I don't have enough bottles. Turn off the ads.
Where do you want to position yourself?
Because
Because I think that's what you've. I think that's what you started to try and do this year, and you just got it wrong.
Yeah, it just fucks it up like a lot
But
of
I think
things.
that's like a lesson in it. Like,
Lesson. You don't fuck it up. You just.
I'd probably like to
again.
just do product and brand, but I've just had to be like across everything for a long time. Like I'm decent at a lot of things, but I don't think I'm not a world class growth marketer. But I obviously understand how to fucking scale an account. I could put my hood on and get in the weeds if I needed to. But yeah, I do think I'm strongest at just like products and shit. It's coming up with new shit. That's what I like doing the most.
creativity.
Yeah, but the sad reality is you can't be very creative 99% of the time because you got to deal with fucking running out of stock and
You need a lot of money.
like loads of shit.
You just need cash, don't you?
Yeah.
It becomes easier at scale.
So, yeah, it'd be nice to get to a point where I've got a nice polished concrete floor, product design studio, and we've got fucking Rainbow Dust version 51, and it's one scoop makes you float. But we're not quite there. But yeah, I'd probably say that generally. I've no interest in being a CEO in this bullshit. I find it horrendously cringe when you get 16-year-old dropshipping founders that have like CEO as their username. It's like, bro, you literally have no employees and you're in a basement. Like, founder is way cooler anyway, in my opinion. It's like the rebellious creator rather than the fucking corporate suit. Why would you want to be a CEO? It's like become this thing. People have it on their like car number plates.
It is pretty funny calling yourself like an MD or something, and then just walking in anything but a suit.
Yeah.
Most CEOs of big companies are hired into the business as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
The
not the
CEO got
founder.
fired in the last. Well, no, I don't know if fired is the right word, but I worked for a company listed on an exchange worth a couple of billion. And the CEO was no longer there when I left.
Really?
So was it
It's
the
weird.
CEO of Pret worked from Barista up?
Yeah, I think so. It was all over LinkedIn.
That was pretty cool,
all those
yeah.
There
stories.
was another one. Was it Fitness First? No, Fitness.
Was it Itsu? Oh no, is it the same guy?
Fuck, I don't know.
I don't know.
There was one in America, some sort of fitness brand that the same happened. The person worked from behind the counter up the business, and they just fired him. And I was like,
Anytime Fitness?
Anytime Fitness, yeah, which is interesting.
I think so.
Yeah, I think like most, there's a lot of egotistical CEOs out there as well
100%.
that I've come across.
I think that's where most founders become unstuck, though, is relinquishing control and
Yeah,
handing
it's
the reins over to other people. Because they
think-
feel like no one can do it better than them, when in reality, if you find the right person, they probably can.
It's not about no one can do it better than them, it's that no one will. It's understanding that it's very hard to find someone that cares as much as you do about the brands. Like, I'm lucky enough to have, more than one person that cares more about each brand than me, which is very, very hard to
It's a complex thing.
believe.
It's a really complex thing hiring someone at that level. I think you've got to find the right culture fit, then you've got to incentivize them in the right way, and then I think even harder is onboarding them in the right way. Like, it's so complex to onboard. So surely, I've not done it, but I was reading this. Someone gave away this. You can get it. It's called a guy called Matt McConey or something. I can't. If you search Matt McConey Y Combinator CEO Consulting, and if you search that and go to his website, he consulted like Sam Altman and about 50 other.
I've seen him.
50 other CEOs of like billion-dollar companies, and if you, there's a downloadable link to a Google Doc on his website that gives away his full coaching course and an implementation strategy of how to become like the best CEO you can possibly be in a business. It's just fascinating, really interesting. It's like how to have better one-to-ones, how to manage people, how to fire people, how to hire people, how to build processes. So good. I would recommend you read it. I'm like halfway through it, trying to implement as much as it can. It's got a lot of it's like, I also think a lot of it on a certain scale becomes a reflection of your personality. So a lot of it's like more like personal development stuff as well, but really high level stuff. Found it really fascinating. It's a good download. It's a good read.
To link it.
Bit of a nugget. I don't have any more questions. I'm spent, man.
Well, I guess on that bombshell, we'll wrap it up. It's been a very eclectic, mixed musings of different topics. Where can they find your website? eClarity, that's the new one.
UK, e-clarity.
We'll link it down below. Don't take too many new clients though, because I need your help.
Don't worry, we're hiring more people.
I need more and more help. As always, subscribe to the pod. we'll link everyone down in the description, and we'll see you next week in episode 81, when hopefully it'll be a bit more succinct and organised, because I was off the ball this week due to my pending man flu. But chat to you in the next episode. Peace.